ahead and read some Action Bible, and then the New International Version, and then a little Wikipedia, and then give a little conclusion. This is from the Action Bible. A fishy story based on the book of Jonah. The book of Jonah? The book of Jonah is only 4 pages, so you can hardly call that a book. But the book of Jonah, here goes. God sends a message to Jonah, a prophet of Israel. So God's going to talk to Jonah. Straight up, just be like, hey, Jonah, go to the corrupt city of Nineveh and tell the people if they don't turn away from their sins, I will destroy them. Jonah immediately makes his way to Joppa, a busy seaport town with ships going to all corners of civilization. There he inquires of a ship's captain. Where's this ship going? To Tarshish. Is that close to Nineveh? Oh, I'm sorry, it's the opposite direction from Nineveh. Perfect. Oh, shit. Jonah is disobeying God. God told him to go to Nineveh to warn the people of Nineveh that they're doing wrong, and Jonah needs to, tell them that they're living their lives wrong. And what does Jonah do? He doesn't go to Nineveh. He doesn't go to Nineveh at all. He doesn't tell the people of Nineveh that they're wicked and they need to reform and they need to change their ways. No, but Jonah goes instead to Tarshish. Tarshish. Having paid for his journey of disobedience, Jonah boards the ship. I'm sorry, God, I can't go to such a filthy, despicable place as Nineveh. But God isn't about to let Jonah get away from his duty that easily. God hurls a great storm at Jonah's ship. The ship is going to break apart in this wind, throw the cargo overboard. It's our only chance, but the storm only rages on more fiercely. Someone must have angered the gods. It wasn't me, I don't think. Although Jonah knows that God is angry with him, he doesn't admit to the sailors that his disobedience is the cause of the storm. In desperation, they draw straws to find out who has angered the gods. Jonah, what did you do to anger your God so? So Jonah loses the drawing of the straws. I know the one true God, and I am not doing what he asked me to do. Just throw me overboard to my death, and then God will let your ship go. But the sailors don't want to throw Jonah into the sea. They try to row back to land, but the sea gets even more rough. We'll never make it. It's getting worse. We have no choice. We'll have to throw Jonah overboard. Lord, don't be mad at us for throwing this man into the sea. Oh no, it's a crazy-ass storm. We just got to throw one of us into the sea. That's the only way that... Look, what is that thing? Jonah assumes that he will drown, but God doesn't intend to let him off the hook that easily. Lord, help me! The moment the sea monster swallows Jonah, the storm calms. At this, the sailors give praise to God, who they now know commands all of nature. But Jonah is not dead. God keeps him alive inside the giant fish for 3 days and 3 nights. This gives him lots of time to think and pray. And maybe realize how arrogant it was to disobey God. Lord, I called out to you and you saved me. The waters were all around me, but you kept me safe. You are the one who saves. Jonah is saying while he's in the belly of this giant evil fish. Maybe a whale, maybe a leviathan, maybe it's a leviathan. God hears Jonah's prayer and makes the fish spit him up on dry ground. Now do what I have commanded. Once again, God tells Jonah to go to Nineveh. This time Jonah obeys. Turn away from your sin or the whole city will be destroyed. This is what God says. And when God does punish you like you deserve, don't say, I didn't warn you. But to Jonah's shock and dismay, the people actually listen to him. To show how sorry they are, they put on black clothes, even the king. This is a royal order. Call out to God with all of your heart. Stop doing evil. Then God may take pity on us. God sees that the people of Nineveh have turned away from their sin, then true to his holy word. He does not destroy them after all. Jonah saved the people of Nineveh. He saved them. What a crazy thing to tell someone to go do. But you know what? Jonah did it anyways. Jonah doesn't actually take God's change of heart very well. Very well. I should have known. Even when people are scum and deserve to die, you show them mercy, Lord. Just kill me if this is the kind of work you're going to ask me to do. Jonah's kind of being a crybaby there at the end. But God scolds Jonah for his attitude. You're always so willing to die, you and your pride, but there are 120,000 people in the city of Nineveh, and I desire that they have the chance to live. The end. There's the book of Jonah. The book of Jonah. So Jonah saves Nineveh, gets stuck in that big whale thing, Leviathan. Then apparently he turns into a crybaby at the end because he's like, you give them mercy, but you didn't show me mercy. What the hell, God? God, this is just some bull. This is bull. So let's read the actual Jonah. Let's read actual Jonah. So this story, I think, is, bullshit. I think it's a tale, it's a story. But there's also, I want to disprove it by the science saying that you cannot survive inside of a man, or inside of a big fish. But apparently there's this article from Deacon Chronicle. I don't know, the guy is sitting there saying how bad it stunk and he could only see inside the whale, the giant beast. He could only see from the light from his waterproof watch, and then how he ate the raw fish that the 56-year-old fisherman, Luigi Marquez. I don't know. Deacon Chronicle, is this anything? So yeah, I don't know if it's possible or not to survive. Somebody once said that you couldn't swallow. The whale's throat is too small to swallow a human. But I wonder if you could actually, if you tighten yourself up, and while you were swallowing you, and then you just, the oxygen, I think the oxygen would be okay. It's not ideal. It'd be terrible. It'd be dark and cramped, and the stomach muscles and the esophagus, all of it's trying to crush you up, right, to turn you into, and then all the bile and the juices and shit. But apparently it happened. At least that's what the internet told me. I mean, if it's not the Bible, then it's the internet. So Jonah. I think it's a slim, tiny possibility that this could be an actual story, because the Bible is a mixture of stories, legends, simple little parables, but also kind of, anecdotes, real shit that happened to real people. So there's a historicity, but then there's also, the teaching lessons. So let's carry on. We're having fun, right? It's fun. Jonah flees from the Lord. The word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah ran away from the Lord, and he headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. What? I got to stand up to Nineveh? Is you crazy, God? I am not. No. Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. All the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God, and they threw the cargo into the sea to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone below deck, where he lay down and fell into a deep sleep. The captain went to him and said, "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us so that we will not perish." Then the sailors said to each other, "Come, let us cast lots to find out who is responsible for this calamity." They cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. So they asked him, "Tell us, who is responsible for making all this trouble for us? What kind of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you?" He answered, "I'm a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." This terrified them, and they asked, "What have you done?" They knew he was running away from the Lord, because he had already told them so. The sea was getting rougher and rougher, so they asked him, "What should we do to you to make the sea calm down for us? Pick me up and throw me into the sea," he replied, "and it will become calm. It will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you." Instead, the men did the best to row back to land, but they couldn't, for the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried out to the Lord, "Please, Lord, do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, Lord, have done as you pleased." So they sacrificed Jonah because that's what God likes, right? God loves that. What, there's a bad, terrible storm in the sea? God's looking down and is like, you know what? I'm not going to save any of those guys unless they throw one of them out in the sea. The sea grew, so it worked, okay? It worked. At this, the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. Another sacrifice, Jonah's prayer. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. What? Is it a whale or a big fish? Or is it like an eel? It could be an eel. You don't know. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God. He said, in my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the depths, into the very heart of the seas, and the currents swirled about me. All your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again towards your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me. The deep surrounded me. Seaweed was wrapped around my head. To the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me in forever. But you, Lord my God, brought my life up from the pit. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them, but I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed I will make good. I will say salvation comes from the Lord. And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. So there you go. God saved Jonah. Even though Jonah didn't go to Nineveh, God let him get swallowed by a whale and then spit him out 3 days later. It's kind of an allegorical sort of a compare-contrast to Jesus dying and resurrecting in 3 days, right? Jonah's in the belly of the whale for 3 days. Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord and went to Nineveh. Let's see, then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. Go to the great city of Nineveh, you son of a bitch. You goddamn asshole, what the fuck's the matter with you? This is God talking to you. Proclaim it, that it's the message I gave to you. So Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord, and he goes to Nineveh. He goes to the criminal-infested shit town of Nineveh. Now, Nineveh was a very large city. It took 3 days to go through it. Jonah began by going a day's journey into the city, proclaiming 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown. The Ninevites believed God. A fast was proclaimed, and all of them from the greatest to the least put on sackcloth. When Jonah's warning reached the king of Nineveh, he rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat down in the dust. What? Okay, this is the proclamation the king of Nineveh issued. By the decree of the king and his nobles, do not let people or animals, herds or flocks taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink, but let people and animals be covered with sackcloth. Let everybody call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways and their violence. Who knows, God may yet relent with compassion, turn from his fierce anger so that we will not perish. When God saw what they did and how they turned from their evil ways, he relented and did not bring on them the destruction he had threatened. Jonah's anger at the Lord's compassion, but to Jonah this seemed very wrong. He became angry. He prayed to the Lord, isn't this what I said, Lord, when I was still at home? This is what I tried to forestall by fleeing to Tarshish. I knew that you're a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and abounding in love, a God who relents from sin and calamity. Now, Lord, take away my life, for it is better for me to die than to live. But the Lord replied, is it right for you to be angry? Jonah had gone out and sat down in a place east of the city. There he made himself a shelter, sat in its shade, and waited to see what would happen to the city. Then the Lord God provided a leafy plant, made it grow up over Jonah to give shade for his head to ease his discomfort. And Jonah was very happy about the plant, but at dawn the next day God provided a worm, which chewed the plant so that it withered. What a dick. God is such a dick. When the sun rose, God provided a scorching east wind, And the sun blazed on Jonah's head so that he grew faint. He wanted to die and said, "It would be better for me to die than to live." But God said to Jonah, "Is it right for you to be angry about the plant?" Why is God doing this? He gives him a plant to give him shade, gives him a worm, then now he doesn't have shade, and now he's doing a scorching east wind, just blowing the shit, just having a wind blow the hell out of him. And then the sun's on his head, and then he about faints. He says, "Is it right for you to be angry about the plant?" Asked God. "It is," Jonah said, "and I'm so angry I wish I were dead." But the Lord said, "You've been concerned about this plant, though you did not tend it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight. And should I not have concern for the great city of Nineveh, in which there are more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left, and also many animals?" So he's saying that even if there's a worm in even if there's a fly in the ointment still might be good. I think that's the point of this. Now, you have the Wikipedia, the old Wikipedia. So this is, let's see, there's a Leviathan connection here, but Wikipedia just kind of says that it's, Jonah is a prophet in the Hebrew Bible of the northern kingdom of Israel in about 8th century BCE. He's a central figure of the book of Jonah, in which he's called upon by God to travel to Nineveh and warn its residents of impending divine wrath. Instead, Jonah boards a ship to Tarshish. Caught in a storm, he orders the ship's crew to cast him overboard, whereupon he's swallowed by a giant fish. In Judaism, the story of Jonah represents the teaching of teshuvah, which is the ability to repent and be forgiven by God.